Alright, so I've gotten a couple comments in the past from people on Discord about how I make FNF vocals sound so good, right? And I know that's like subjective, of course. People do it differently a lot of the time. I have my own little method that I like to do, and I guess today I'll show off how I do it. I'll start with the bare basics from just making a chromatic scale itself to then like actually using it, what effects I use, and how I sequence vocals. So yeah, let's get to it. Just to make it clear, I use FL Studio. I think this is the latest version from like 2026 or something. You can just use whatever version though, because most of them just have the correct features you need. So for the chromatic scale, I'm gonna show off how to make one that you've recorded samples for yourself, or that one that you've gotten samples from like friends. I will be using some samples made specifically for chromatic scales. They're like long notes that are easy to use. Because if you're sampling from like clips of TV shows or like animated series or whatever, it's not gonna be as much of a clear-cut process. You may wanna look somewhere else. But the process is similar enough, so you might also want to follow this, up to you. I like to do the basic vowel sounds that most people do. Some people like to record phrases and stuff. I will just record myself singing different notes. I forgot to set my mic here, so if you want to set your mic, you go on whatever track you want. You want this little thing here. Click on the in one button. Yeah, I hear myself now, which is really bad. If you click this, you won't hear yourself anymore, but then just remember to like click this back on after so it connects back to the master. Alright, and now I'll just hit this. Alright, got my notes here. Let me reconnect this now. Click here so I don't hear myself. So my mic is not using the thing. Now cool, I have notes here. And now, before we bring this to another software, you want to make sure this is all consistent, right? So you want to like look at the waveform, split these samples as such, so you have one little clip for each, and then you just want to like tweak their volume so they're a bit more similar, but do listen through it just to see if it sounds good. It's probably fine. If your mic has like weird like EQing, you could add fruity parametric EQ too in here and just, you know, tweak it until it sounds good. I'm not gonna do that because I think it's already good. And the sounds are already at a nice volume, but if they are not, you'll just add a fruity compressor, turn up the gain until they're at a reasonable volume, but don't turn it up too much, because if you do, it'll get really compressed and weird. So yeah, try to avoid this. I'll get rid of the compressor since I'm not going to use it. So this is probably good to go. I'll select everything, Control A, hit File, Export. I'll export it as a WAV to keep most quality as I can, and I'll save it in my downloads folder. These are the settings I use. You can use whatever you want. This is just what works for me. It's mostly unchanged from the basic settings from FL. So now we're moving to a different program. It's called Melodyne, and here you have it. This is Melodyne. You can use this either as a plugin in FL Studio itself or as a separate program. I have it as a separate program just because I prefer working with it like this. I wouldn't really know how to work with it inside of FL, so sorry about that. But first, I'll get that file and I'll drag it to this interface over here. And as soon as I do that, you'll see that it's in here now. I have all the little notes that I sang here. We have the A, E, I, O, and U. You can also tweak the volume of them in here, like I did in FL Studio if you want. You just use this tool here, the amplitude tool, and just like drag it a little so they're all around the same volume. Great. All right. Now, what you'll want to do here is clean up the samples a little. If you see, like, when you're hovering the mouse over a sample like this, if you move it slightly up or down, I guess not down, but just up, you'll see that your cursor becomes like this little splitting thing. click around here in each note, like this portion, so it cuts like the first few milliseconds of it. So there's not really like an evident like fade. Do the same thing for the end of the sample. And yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm clicking each like section that I split and hitting delete. So you want to do that for every single note. Just clean it up a little. This is another thing. If you see that you like dropped down in pitch a little when you were singing, it'll sort of look like this with like a dip. You might want to remove this just to be safe. If the sample's not good, you can always re-record it. Okay, we're done. And I should also clarify, in case your thing doesn't work so well, you might want to check the algorithm here. See if you're using a melodic standard. This is the one that mostly works for this purpose. So just keep using that. I'm not going to click it because it's going to like reset everything I did. Now what you'll want to do is Control A. Why is it not selecting everything? Yeah, Control A. You'll want to double click on any of the notes here because that'll snap it back on the grid because they were like not in the right place. Then in, I think it's options, you'll want to make sure that in pitch grid, chromatic snap is turned on. And then for time grid, I like to just keep it like this, I'm pretty sure, right? No, okay, I like to make it inactive here, so I can just move the samples freely without snapping. That's a bit more freedom. You don't really need the samples to be in an organized fashion for making chromatic scales. Okay, so what you'll want to do here is you're going to select everything, and you'll see there's this little window on the side. You'll want to make them all the same pitch in case they're not. So like you click here and type it in. They're already C3 for me, so that's fine. Now you make that capital. And here on pitch modulation, you want to make that 0%. Pitch drift, also 0%. Now format is a nice one because you can, if you want a lower or a higher voice, you can make this number either positive or negative and keep messing with it, so you can get a higher register on the notes. But if it's fine like this, then keep it as this. Then this is the sort of tedious part. I like to make chromatic scales that sort of follow Boyfriend's chromatic, so that it's got like this repetition, like call and response sort of feel to it. And I know the order of those samples by heart, so I'm just gonna do it like that. But what most people do is they take like E, O, U, and they just stack it up like this, and then they'll just select everything and just like keep copying and pasting until you got like a good amount of octaves. I'm not gonna do that because I like them like BF, so I'll do like, let me do this whole thing. So it's E, U. Oh, I guess I should also mention, if your samples are too short, you can grab the tail end of it and just drag it. But keep in mind, the more you do this, the more robotic it'll sound, so watch out. It is better to just have long samples by default. Oh yeah, and also make sure that the notes aren't touching, so like there's a little gap in between them. Like if you hit the playback, there's like a little silence in between them, just so the slicer plugin in FL Studio will chop it right. Normally Boyfriend's chromatic scale only goes up to this note, but I like to make it go up to a B note instead of a F sharp, just so it's more consistent for like whole octaves. I like to do 3 octaves normally, so let me just do that. I usually take A, O, U as the last ones because it's missing only 5 notes to reach that, so let me do that. Alright, and now if I zoom out, you'll see that I have a full chromatic scale right here. If you want to save this to edit later, you can hit save as and save it somewhere in your computer. I'm not going to do that because I feel like I'm pretty satisfied with this. I'll just export, Click export here. You don't have to mess with these settings. And now I'll just save it somewhere in my computer. Keep in mind that when you do this, it'll save the same name as the file you put it in. So don't save it in the same directory, you can just rename it later. And now let's go back to FL Studio. Alright, now that I'm back in FL, I'm just gonna get rid of these samples because I don't need them anymore. And I'll also delete it from here. Cool, let's unselect this. And now, let me bring in my chromatic scale. Or actually, before this, let's actually learn how to import the chromatic scale into here. So, you wanna get a plugin called, most people like to use SliceX. And actually, let's use this first because there is something useful we can do here. First off, when you have the plugin here, turn this little knob off, auto dump. That's like the most annoying knob on earth. Don't keep that on ever. It'll dump all the notes into one of your patterns. You can just click X here and then hit Control Z so it'll undo it, but either way it's really annoying. Now, I'm gonna get the file for the chromatic and I'll drag it onto this little part here. Alright, now that it's here, I will go on this little button here, right click it, and hit dual auto slicing. So if everything works accordingly, you'll see that if you zoom in here, everything it has a little marker next to each sample. And if you have this little button on, the one that lets you play stuff with your keyboard, you can play stuff on your keyboard. Cool. And if anything is wrong, if there's a marker in a spot that you don't like, you can just move it elsewhere and it'll affect the note. Or you can add more if you'd like. You can double click a spot and then click this button here and it'll add a marker. You can also remove them if you right click them and hit delete, but I'm not going to do that because it's sliced perfectly fine. If you're doing a specific number of octaves perfectly, it should be a multiple of 12. So I got 36 as my last one, so that's perfectly fine. Now what I'll do here is I'll go on this button, save sample as, and then that'll bring up the thing to save it, and I will overwrite the chromatic scale with this. And now that I've done that, basically what that does is it pre-slices the sample. So every time you import it into FL Studio, it'll have these slices perfectly in place. So you don't have to mess with any slicing in whatever plugin you use this in, which is great because we're not going to use SliceX anymore. We are going to use another one called Fruity Slicer right here. Now first, I know that auto dump is off, but turn it on and off because for some reason, even though it shows us off when you import it, it's actually not. You have to turn it on and off for it to actually work. It's really dumb. But now that you've done this, you can go into your file explorer and drag your sliced chromatic scale into this little square here. And you'll see that it's all sliced really perfectly. You don't have to mess with anything. You can even... You can play it on your keyboard here. So now is when you make this sound good. You'll wanna open this little cog here. You'll go on this button. Now you have this little envelope here. You'll wanna completely get rid of the attack. Now you'll see that it already sounds kind of different, but it's because we got rid of the default envelope that it already uses. You'll want to hold on the maximum, decay minimum, sustain maximum, and then release. I like to keep just a tiny bit of this. Use just a little tiny slope, because otherwise it cuts off really dry. So don't do that, or you could, up to you. It's just this is the way that I like to do it. And then you'll go on pitch here. You'll see this little thing on the right. This is for vibrato. I like adding vibrato to my vocals, so I'll just do that. You don't have to do this one. It's just it sounds good, honestly, in my humble opinion. You'll turn the amount on just slightly, 1 or 2%. I just 1, I feel is enough. And you'll see that it has a wavy sound now. You can tweak the speed, lower it a little bit. You'll see that it's really wavy now. I like to keep it sort of like this. And then delay. This is how long it'll take for the vibrato to actually impact your sample. I like to leave it at around 7%. Or like 10. Maybe 7. Let's do 7. Then final touch that I like to do, this is sort of a controversial one, but I like how it sounds. Turn on this little porta knob right here. That'll give like a sort of slidey, squeaky sound to your chromatic. If you turn it really high, it'll just sound like this. So I like to type in value and do exactly 0.15. I find it to be pretty consistent, so yeah, let's just roll with it. And that's pretty much it for importing the chromatic. I'll just rename this to a test chromatic. And let's put it in a track. Cool, so now that we have this, let's do the effects. So you'll see that this doesn't reach that high in the mixer here. So let's go in here, add a compressor, and add a little gain. 10 is a good number, and it looks like it's reaching a good spot in here. Don't make it too loud, just like enough for it to be decent. And you can turn it down a little in here if you want. The compression is pretty good. It helps like stabilize the sounds and make them pretty even throughout. So if a sound is lower than another, it'll sort of level out. Now, what I like to do next is add some EQ, parametric EQ. I like to get rid of the lower frequencies completely, so you can do that by right-clicking this. Go and type high pass. Go on this little thing here and drag it down until you get it like this. Go on BW, make it go up a little, so it like sort of this kind of slope. Then just bring it forward. I like to bring it to the same spot as the 2 here. Then I like to lower the mid frequencies a bit and then increase this a little bit. Of course, all of this is really situational. You'll want to make it different depending on how the voice sounds. It's really up to you. I have this preset that I like to use that I made myself. But yeah, feel free to also make your own presets. It's pretty useful. Then what I like to do after is add some chorus, but not much. I just use the default one. Because if you leave it on the default, it sounds like this. It's like an alien thing. So I just like to do 0.25. So it sounds a bit more lively, but just a tiny bit. And then there's a little contentious part, because people tend to exaggerate this. Delay and reverb. Let's do delay first. I like to use this preset that I stole from Saruki in a video of theirs. Feel free to also steal it from me, because it is sort of slightly different, I'm pretty sure. This gives like a sort of echo effect to your chromatic. I like to leave it at around 15. Seems like a good number in the volume here. And now finally, reverb. I like to just use the default normally. Sometimes I'll use like different presets, but the regular one is fine. Make the wet knob around, I like to do 4%. So it's very subtle. You can make it very reverby if you like, but I'm not going to do that, just because I feel like in most cases it works with less reverb. And there we go. That's how I do the effects. And now, there's one final thing also. Panning. This makes it so the sound goes more to your left here or your right here. For FNF vocals, I like to consider what side the opponent, or I guess the character, would be on, and then just pan it accordingly, but not drastically, just very subtly. I like to do 10%. Considering that this is going to be the opponent, I'll do left, because that's where they're going to stand. And then, if you want, if you're not going to do like a custom boyfriend or any characters like this, if you just want to do boyfriend, you can right-click this, go in File, save mixer state as, but don't click this, drag this to the side, and you'll see that you're dragging a thing now. And drag it over to Insert 2, so you'll see that it copied it perfectly. Now I'll just change this to be the right side. So you have like a perfect copy of this for boyfriend. So what I'm gonna do, so I don't have to do all the settings again, I'm just gonna clone this, make it on the second track, and I'll go over here and drag boyfriend's chromatic on the little square here. Cool, okay. And I'll just rename it boyfriend chromatic. There he is. Okay, so one thing that I want to do right away, leave boyfriend and the opponent sorta on the same, like similar mixing. So I'm bringing the high end up here. That's better. Okay. It is pretty hard to make them sound the same, but you can just try with mixing. And now the last step, which is actually sequencing stuff. I'm gonna bring on a song so we can do this. Okay, so initially I had like the soul segment showing off me making vocals for a song, but it was kind of a disaster because it's a song that already has lyrics. It didn't work out so well. So instead, what I'm gonna do here is I'll kind of show the vocals for a song that's already done, specifically Sniff City from FNF The Origami King, one of the mods that I'm in, right? This is a song that's already published, so there's no issue with showing this. So here I have a chromatic scale for Shy Guy and one for Boyfriend. And this kind of shows off like exactly what I wanted to show. So I kind of sequenced them like this. I kind of like to have it where the notes never really touch each other. You can make it so they touch each other, but it's kind of a preference of mine for them not to. Just so it's a bit more rhythmic. And let me just like play a segment here. Now, if you're wondering what's going on here, we have the notes here, and you may be wondering like what this tiny note on top of some of the notes is. So let me explain. This is a slide note. If I were to enlarge this, you would see that there's like a little triangle thing, but I'm just gonna Control Z here. Basically, if you ever have a consecutive note, or you just don't like what the vowel for one of the notes is, you can always move it like down or up 1 or 2 squares. Never make it too high or too low, otherwise it'll sound weird. But just move it like, down 1. So if you want like an instead of O here, just move it down. And you place one of those notes here, and basically if you do it at the start, it'll like change the pitch for the entirety of the note, so it's the same pitch as this other one, even though they're different vowels. Do, da. Same thing here. Ooh. Same effect. It just kind of does this. If you want to make one of those notes, what you'll want to do is place a note anywhere, double click it, check this little thing here with the triangle, click accept, and now you have a slide note, but it's a regular slide note, right? It just behaves like one. So if you want it to be like this, change your snapping here to none, and drag it all the way like this, so it's like negative. And now you can change your snapping back to whatever you like. Just like place it at a good spot. Is it correct? I don't think that's correct. Let me just like, there you go, that's more like it. Then just, if I want to change the vowel, I just, why is it snapping so weirdly? Okay, hold on. Oh, never mind, okay. Yeah, this is kind of a weird example, but, oh, I think I have the snapping to scale on. And you can just do anything you want with this. But yeah, another thing that's cool to show is pitch bends. Let me see if I have one here. There we go. I have one right here. So you see that I place another note like here. This is the same principle as the other thing. If you want to do a bend, usually I find it more ideal to like place the starting pitch of it. So it does dee-doo, ooh. It like kind of goes from one pitch to the other. So like place a negative note here, and then place like a normal bend note, sort of like here. And yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much all you gotta know. I hope this has taught you something, and yeah, thanks for watching.